Okay, so this video we're going to do the explain to part of the parabola, just the explain to. And then Mrs. Ballard will do the explain 3 together as a whole group. So we're writing, and I apologize about my children's noise in the background. We're writing the equation of parabola, and this time we're switching our vertex. Yesterday it was at 0, 0. Now we're at hk. So the standard equation of the parabola with a vertex can be found by translating from 0, 0 to hk. You substitute in x minus h for x and y minus k for y. This also translates the focus and the directrix by the same amount. So our new equation, so we had an x squared there yesterday, now it's an x minus h squared, and we had a y here yesterday, now it's a y minus k. And then the same for over here. Remember, this is the equation for a vertical parabola, and this one's for a horizontal parabola. So remember, the picture of this one looks something like this, or upside down, and the picture of this one is it's laying on its side. Okay, the same characteristics here. We've got that when p is greater than 0, when it's positive, it opens up or right. When p is less than 0 or negative, it opens down or to the left. And then they give us a calculation for the focus. Notice it kind of reverses depending upon where we're at. This is still a horizontal axis of symmetry, or sorry, horizontal directrix, and this is a vertical directrix. So the characteristic where it's opposite the way the parabola is still there. And then the axis of symmetry is whatever it says here in the formula. So this one is the x value, this one is the y, is related to the y value. And then we started doing this yesterday, this little formula. We basically take the focus and the directrix and we subtract them and divide by 2, and that will get us the p value, okay, depending upon which one it is, okay? And it depends which one, depends on whether we're horizontal or vertical as to whether we use the y value or the x value, okay? The vertex can be found from the focus by relating the coordinates of the focus to h, k, and p, okay? So vertical is a y value for the focus, and horizontal is an x value for the focus. All right, so let's try this. So we've got to do the equation, the parabola, the focus, directrix, just like we did yesterday. I put our little chart here so we can refer to it a little bit more. So they're telling us the focus is 3, 2. I would graph that right away, and they scaled by 2s, it looks like. So out 3, up 2. And then the directrix is y equals 0, which we actually can't see, so I would trace over the top of it there. All right, because this is a horizontal directrix, we know that our parabola is going to be a vertical parabola. So we're going to use this vertical column right here. When we're vertical, we use, for our p value, we use the y value of the focus and the y value of the directrix. So the y value of the focus was 2. The y value of the directrix was 0, and we divide it by 2. So 2 minus 0 is 2 over 2, which is equal to 1. The h value, okay, so the h set, it comes from the x coordinate of the focus. So if you look here in this formula right here, we just need the focus. It's the x coordinate of the focus. So if we look at our focus, the h value is 3. So we're going to plug that into our formula here eventually. So we need the h, the k, and the p is what we're looking for. To solve for the k, the y value of the focus is equal to kp, right? It says that right here in our chart. Remember, you get the chart on the test. So the y value of the focus is 2, so we're going to set kp equal to 2. Up here, we calculated that p was 1, so I could substitute that in for p. And then you subtract 1 from both sides, and we get that the k is equal to 1. So now I can fill in this formula right here. So I'm taking and I'm doing the h value is 3. The p value was 1, which they didn't show. So actually, let me show that. Let me show you filling in the formula. So it's x minus h squared equals 4 times p times y minus k. So for the h, we calculated the h to be 3. So x minus 3 squared. The p is 1, so I'm putting in a 1. and then the k value is 1. So we would multiply these two together, and when we do that, we end up with this equation right here. Okay? And again, that's great, and we can get our vertex. We didn't plot our vertex on there, did we? They didn't even tell us our vertex, did they? We have to read our vertex out of here. Our vertex is going to be HK. But remember, you come in or out of parentheses, you have to change your sign. Okay? So we flip our sign, it's a 3. We flip our sign, and it's a 1. So we're going to be out 3, up 1. So we agree with the vertex that's plotted there. That's unfortunately not enough. We need a little bit more in order to get the equation, or to get the parabola graphed. Okay? So we're going to have to plug into this one here. Probably a little bit trickier this time. It's a little bit tougher to figure out what the square number is going to be. Let's see. We know we want a positive number, and we're plugging in a y value. So why don't we try? 1 isn't going to be great. Let's try 2. Okay, so I'm going to put in a y value of 2 into that. So x minus 3 squared equals 4 times 2 minus 1. So we just put 2 in for the y. 2 minus 1 is 1. And then 4 times 1 is 4. And we're going to take the square root of both sides. It's plus or minus. So you get x minus 3 equals plus or minus 2. Now we're going to take that 3 and move it to the other side. So we have x equals 3 plus or minus 2, which still doesn't do us much good. We have to get those actual points. So we're going to do x equals 3 plus 2, and x equals 3 minus 2. So 3 plus 2 is 5, and 3 minus 2 is 1. So those are our x values of the points. Our actual points, remember, we put this y value of 2 in. So I have a point at 5, 2, and a point at 5, 1. I'm sorry, not 5, 1, 1, 2. The y value doesn't change. So we're going to go out 5 and up 2, which would be right here. We're going to go out 1, which is going to be here, and up 2. And then sketch our parabola through that. So similar to what we did yesterday, this calculation here was that we just did for those points was a little bit more complicated. All right, we're going to try another one. All right, so let's go ahead and plot as we go, so we can kind of decide if we're horizontal or vertical. So I've got focus is at -1, and of course they scaled in 2s again. -1, -1. So my focus is right there. My directrix is at x equals 5, which would be about right here. Oops, I'm not doing it straight. So if we've got a vertical directrix, that means that we have, and it says it right there, that means we have the opposite in the parabola. We have a horizontal parabola. All right, so in the case of a horizontal parabola, we do the x value of the focus minus the x value of the directrix. So the x value of the focus was -1, and the directrix is 5. And then we have -1 minus 5 is -6 divided by 2. And -6 divided by 2 is -3. So we know that p is equal to -3. If we look here, the k value is the y part of the focus, according to this chart. So the y part of my focus is -1. To get h, we're going to look at this x value of the focus has that information in it. And we know that it is h plus p is equal to the x value in the focus, which is -1. So we're going to take and we also know that the p value from over here is 3. So we're going to plug that p value in. And then we're going to add 3 to both sides. -1 plus 3 is 2. So if I'm going to fill in my y, sorry, it's not y plus k, y minus k squared equals 4p times h minus, times x minus h. Okay, so the k value that we calculated is right here. It's -1. So negative is going to go positive. The p-value that we just calculated is -3. And then the h value that we got is 2. All right, let's simplify that more. So this is already there for us, the y plus 1 squared. And then we're going to multiply 4 times 3 to give us -12 for the coefficient. And then we have the quantity x minus 2. And there's our equation. From our equation, we can read the vertex out of there. So, but we have to be careful because our vertex is hk. Your h is back here and your k is attached to the y. So it's not in order. So the h value is 2. The k value is -1. So let's plot the vertex. So out 2, down 1. And it looks like I want to pick negative values because we're opening towards the left. Okay? Because our p-value was negative. It told us that right there, right? So let's go ahead and put it into this function right here. I need to pick some negative x values. Oh, let's try let's try -2 and see what happens. Or what was our value? Oh, is it -1? Let's try -1. Okay, so I'm going to pick x equal to -1. So we've got y plus 1 squared equals -12. Putting the -1 in for the x, minus 2. -1 minus 2 is -3. -12 times -3 is 36. To undo the square, I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So that's plus or minus. So we got y plus 1 equals plus or minus 6. And then we're going to move the 1 over. So we're going to subtract it. And then we can't leave it like that. We've got to split it up into 2 separate ones. So we got y equals -1 plus 6. And y equals -1 minus 6. -1 plus 6 is 5. -1 minus 6 is -7. All right, so what that means is I have a point at this x value, -1 and then 5. And I have a point at -1 and -7. So we're out -1 and up 5 would be about right there. And we are out -1 and down 7, which would be about right here. And then sketch our parabola through those points. Okay, we're going to do one more together, and then you're going to do one on your own. All right, so we're going to do this one more time, this time without all the scaffolding there, okay? So we're going to start with our focus is 5, -1. So we're going to go out 5 and down 1. And then the directrix is an x equals is vertical, which means that our parabola has to be horizontal. Okay, and if you forgot, look here, here's your hint, right? It's an x equals directrix. All right, so we're going to put a directrix at our vertical directrix at -3. Okay, now we're going to find the, let's see, we need to find the p-value, right? Yeah, p-value next. So the p-value, remember, is exactly in between these two numbers, right? And since I have an x value here, I want to work with the x value there. So we're going to do the -3 minus 5 divided by 2. So -3 minus 5 is -8 over 2, which is going to be -4. Oops, I did it backwards apparently. Apparently we're supposed to do our focus minus our directrix. Okay, so there is a reason to go one direction versus the other. Okay, so I got the wrong p-value. Signs are wrong. All right, so apparently when we do the P, it has to be the focus minus the directrix every time. Okay, so the focus is 5. The directrix is -3. Double negative is going to go positive. I get 8 over 2, and that simplifies to 4. So I've got that P equals 4. Then I need to find my K value, okay? Because the K value is easy because I can just read that right out of the focus point. So the K value is sitting right there. K is equal to -1. And then the H value, to get the H, I know that H plus P is going to be, in this case, the X coordinate of the focus. And then I'm going to plug the P value that we calculated in. So H plus 4 equals 5. Then we're going to subtract the 4 from both sides. So 5 minus 4 is 1. All right, so we're going to fill in now into our formula, which is y minus k squared equals 4 times p times x minus h. All right, so we're going to put the k value in, which is the -1. So y minus -1 squared equals -4 times p, which is 4, times x minus the h value, which we calculated to be 1. Double negative is going to go positive. So we get y plus 1 squared equals -4 times 4 is -16, x minus 1. So we've got the equation. Remember to read our vertex. We switch the signs, but we have to be careful. Our h is always connected to the x. So the h value is 1. The k value is -1 because it's connected to the y. So I could go ahead and plot that. Out 1, down 1. All right, now we're going to plug into the function that we got, and we need to pick some y value or some x values. I'm going to choose to pick 4, okay? That's that p value that we got. So I'm going to choose, sorry, flipped on me here. So that's that p value that we got. I'm going to use the 4, okay? So, and I'm going to try to squeeze my work in down over here. So I'm putting in that the x is equal to 4. So we've got y plus 1 squared equals -16 times 4 minus 1. Oh, that's not going to work out so good, is it? 5 would be better, I think. Let me double check. Yeah, let's put in a 5. I'm trying to force a square number, okay? So y plus 1 squared equals -16. 5 minus 1 is, oh, that's still not good, is it? I probably need a, actually, if I did put in a -4. Sorry, I've changed it on you 3 times. I apologize. No, -4 doesn't do us any good either. Did I graph it right? 5, 1, directrix -3. Where did this negative, oh, okay, typo, that's what's going on. There shouldn't be a negative in front there. I don't know where negative got in there, how that happened. So let's get rid of all those negatives. That will help out a lot. Okay, so we're going to stick with the x equals 5. All right, so 5 minus 1 is 4. 16 times 4 is 64. We're going to undo the squared by taking the square root. On the right side, it's got to be plus or minus. So you get y plus 1 equals plus or minus. Square root of 64 is 8. So we're going to split that into 2. So y plus 1 equals, sorry, that's not what we're supposed to do. So y equals, we're going to subtract the 1. So it's -1 plus or minus 8. So y equals -1 plus 8. And y equals -1 minus 8. -1 plus 8 is 7. -1 minus 8 is -9. Which means I'm going to plot the points with this x value and these y values. So 5, 7, and 5, -9. So we're going to go out 5 and up 7. We're going to go down 5 and, or sorry, out 5 and down 9. All right, so now what you're going to do is you're going to try to do number 6 on your own, and by that point, Mrs. Ballard will probably bring you guys back together as a group.